Jerika Johnstone. Welcome. I Never Knew TV. Thank
Yay.
you for coming.
Yes.
We want to get right into it, right? Can you how would you define Kemetic yoga?
Kemetic yoga. So, Kemetic yoga is a practice that originates out of ancient Kemet, which is like the area that we now call Egypt. But Egypt is the Greek name, it comes from Egyptos. So, Kemet, ancient Kemet, is like what the people of that land called the land. So, Kemet is Egypt and southern parts as well, like Kush Valley, Nile Valley civilizations. So if we go to the pyramids or we go into the temples there, you'll actually see folks doing yoga. So my teacher, Yasir Rahotep, he's out of Chicago. He's been teaching and training for over like 50 years. He brings folks to Egypt or Kemet. He brings folks to Jamaica, just all over the world to train us in basically what these folks were doing inside of these temple walls. So the main tenet of Kemetic yoga is rule of four breathing, because we're really focused on bringing the breath up to the pituitary gland, which is like right here in between the eyebrows, and then the pineal gland, which is like the middle of your brain. So we bring this life force energy, this chi, if you will, up to the brain with the breath, find a pause, and then exhale through the nostrils, allowing all the chi to flow like through the fingertips and through the toes. So it's really about life force as breath and really activating those glands within our body to find a new space of consciousness. So it's holistic in that, yes, you're going to find the, properly eating and, moving of your body and things of that sort. But really the focus is on the breath, because the folks, we're so deliberate about life force and breath and oxygen to move the body and to access greater realms of consciousness through the pituitary gland and the pineal gland. So if you look at pictures or you look at some of the ancient art, you'll see like this wajet or this snake coming out of the third eye center. And that's what the focus is. It's like, let me bring this breath up to this space where I know this pituitary gland is like this doorway to the subconscious mind. Really focus on pausing there. And then as I exhale, bringing this energy back through that special place and allowing this chi or this prana to flow through the fingertips and through the toes. So that's kind of what makes it different, in that there's a inhale, a pause, an exhale, and a pause. And then you visualize literally like what you might see in the art if you were to go to ancient Kemet. So
You mentioned breath, right? And I know a lot of practices speak about the importance of breath.
mm-hmm.
How detrimental is our breathing pattern in our environment, in our current society?
Well, many of us are breathing very shallow. The lungs are like super, I don't want to say dirty, but just like a lot of us are doing shallow breathing. So we're just breathing from like the top of the lungs, opposed to having these long breaths where we're going to cleanse from the bottom of the lungs all the way to the top. So in Kemetic yoga, we really focus on elongating the breath. So, it may be like 6 or 7 counts where we're exhaling, or 6 or 7 counts on the inhale, because we want to get to the bottom of the lungs. We could have stale air that's been in our lungs trapped for like a decade. Like that just is like so incredibly astounding to me. Like, wow, there could be breath from when I was in my 30s. So we tend to breathe really shallow, and we tend to breathe in a way that doesn't really get the full oxygen flowing to like all the cells in our body. So Kemetic yoga definitely focuses on like clearing out the lungs and then sending this oxygen to the entire body. Yeah.
And when you are doing these breathing exercises, you're not necessarily focusing on anything, or you have some type of mantra or anything. You're just focusing on the breath.
Well, we do have a nice visualization. So not necessarily a mantra, but just inhaling, allowing the breath to come up, focusing on this third eye center, really focusing on the brain. And then as we exhale, feeling actually the sensation of the chi, of the energy flowing through the extremities, like through the fingertips and through the toes. So it's like really conscious breath. And we place the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth. So that's something the tongue to the roof of the mouth is like a very important connection in Kemetic yoga because it helps the right side of the brain and the left side of the brain sync. So that's another part that just makes it a little bit more deliberate in terms of the visualization, but not necessarily a mantra per se, but definitely seeing the cobra emerge in your mind's eye, emerge from this space, finding that pause, and then when you exhale, imagining this wajet or this cobra coming back in through the third eye and then flowing down through the rest of the body.
Can you explain to our viewers the difference between yoga as a form of moving meditation versus a more stationary form of meditation?
Sure. Okay, so with Kemetic yoga in particular, we focus on geometric progression. So all of the poses, for the most part, you're going to find like these beautiful angles within your own body. So no matter your shape, no matter your size, like we're going to make a 90-degree angle here, this is Ka, right? So Ka is a pose that is about your spirit and that part of you that is still here, even when your body's not here, right? So all of these asanas or all of these gestures or movements are very focused on the sacred geometry within your body, right? So it doesn't matter if you're like slim or thick or whatever, like you can find like these sacred geometric forms, right? So the yoga is actually preparation for meditation. So you do the yoga, you're feeling all good, you feel nice and high, and then like you go into your prayer, you go into your meditation. The meditation may just be where you're sitting and you're receiving information or listening and you're like chilling, versus the actual movement with the breath is going to, of course, strengthen your muscles, lengthen your muscles, strengthen your lungs, strengthen your heart, all those things. Turning on the parasympathetic nervous system, that helps us just kind of chill instead of like get super hype. So that's why we really do the yoga. So then when stuff gets stressful, we can kind of just come back to the breath and not like go into that flight or flight type of. Yeah.
And, for all those listening, I don't do yoga consistently, but I've done it, and it's quite the workout holding these stances because I was there sweating bullets and shit. I just want to let people know,
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits, like for sure. That's like the added benefit, right? So not only are you clearing your mind and you're, attuning within, but then also like you might like actually see a little bit more muscle definition, or perhaps like be able to like touch your toes a little bit easier. So yeah, for sure.
I ask everyone this, so I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
All right. What is your understanding of the meaning of the Ankh?
The Ankh. All right. Well, for me, initially everyone is just like eternal life. And yes, for sure. I also think that it relates to this idea of the of life force, like of breath, right? So we take breath for granted. It's so important for us to really like attune to our breath and realize like its power, like it can take us to another place. So for me, like the Ankh is about the life force. It also is like when you look at the Ankh itself, it kind of looks like a womb, and then, so it's like the union of a male and a female, and that's just like a beautiful union, right? So it can be life force, it can be creation, also eternal life, and then also like the union of male and female. Let's see, what else do I have in my notes? Yeah, just even the form of it, kind of like you can maybe visualize the circulation of life force and energy, also connecting the physical body to the astral body, the union of heaven and earth. So it's so many things.
Why is yoga so effective in reducing stress and focusing the mind?
Okay, so when we're able to slow down the mind, slow down the breath, and kind of distract ourselves and just focus on the breath, it helps us turn on the parasympathetic nervous system. So the parasympathetic nervous system is the system that helps us chill, helps us relax, helps us just like find a sense of peace and inner calm. And it's just like kind of naturally what happens. Like it's just like a scientific thing. I don't know like all the scientific words for it, but it helps the nervous system relax, opposed to being in a state of just like reaction. Just being able to just like kind of take a moment, go within, process before reacting. So I think you'll find like a lot of yoga practitioners, they just may have like a sense of inner calm because they've been working on the breath, doing the breath work. And then also a lot of times when you're doing these movements, and you're sending the breath and the oxygen to where you might feel a little bit of discomfort or like inflammation or something like that, you're also realizing your power, like, oh wow, like I have the power to kind of like switch my mind a bit and like refocus and reprogram and just maybe send the breath to these tight spaces. And wow, now look, I have some movement, so then it's like an added benefit because you realize, oh, like my breath is super powerful. It's helping me move through these poses. And then also I'm just achieving like a greater sense of calm and well-being. So
why do you think people struggle so much with meditation? I hear that a lot. I've been meditating like last couple months. I just started. But I hear people like they try it, but they just get so discouraged because they struggle with just being still and being with themselves,
Yeah, I mean, the mind is very busy, and then we're bombarded with so much information now. It's so hard to turn it off. And I think people have this idea of what meditation should look like. Like I need to be like sitting in lotus pose and holding my hand yoga and just breathing and smiling. And for me, meditation can look many ways. It could be like a walk in nature. It could be you painting or in your creative self, So I think we need to detach from like what meditation actually looks like and then just realize that more than anything, it's just you communing with yourself, which is essentially communing with source, communing with, some people say like your higher self or something like that. So I think it's important for us to detach from like what we think meditation should look like. Because for me, like going on nature walks, being in nature, like that's my vibe. Like I'm in a meditative state. Like I'm able to just kind of be in a space of an empty mind, but like also like appreciative, thankful, a state of just like grace, like all those things. So I think if you are having a hard time, two things that I recommend. One is maybe just having like a mantra that you can repeat to yourself, like I am love, or even chanting your own name can be really powerful, just over and over in your head. And then also doing something deliberate with your hands. So in Kemetic yoga, we do a lot of this particular pose, which is like thumb and pointer finger together, and then you push out through your other three fingers. So you'll see this like in the scribes who would like sit and write the hieroglyphs. Like a lot of them be sitting in like an easy crisscross applesauce pose, and then holding this, which is for like clear thinking and clear knowing. So maybe try to do something cool or deliberate with your fingers and your hands. So then not only do they have like all these added benefits, but then like your mind is kind of distracted because you're just like, okay, I'm holding these fingers properly, you know, like my fingers are touching, like you're not thinking about like the news or something like that. So finding ways to like distract the mind, but then also opening up to the many ways that meditation may look.
All right, before I ask you about homeschooling, right? Can you tell me what you believe are the biggest issue with our country's public education system?
Well, you know, I feel like the public education system is definitely built upon like these kind of archaic models where, you know, people had to go to work, so they had to send their kids to school, and they're just long days. And kids don't need to be like sitting in a classroom for 8 hours a day. Like literally you can probably, like, I think preschool, they only need like 30 minutes of like instruction or, you know, like guided like instruction. Even high school, I think it's like literally you could get like what they need within like 2 or 3 hours, you know? So there's just so much like, so many fillers. And then it's just, if we know just how children develop and things of that sort, like we know kids need to play. We know they need to be outside. We know they need sunlight. Like that's what's going to be healthy for the brain development.
And what's wild is a lot of these schools, the kids don't go outside. The classroom is pretty dark. It's not lit like this place here. So that's a red flag just to start with. And this is a daily thing every day.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, when we talk about, you know, Kemetic yoga, right? And like attuning to like the divine within, the system doesn't really want for our kids to do that, because if our kids really were able to attune to the divine within, like they'd be soaring, they'd be flying, they'd be doing all types of things. And it's hard to control someone if they truly are in tune with like their selves, you know? So it's a tough situation, because I know parents have to work, and you know, like what are you supposed to do with your kids? And we're just like living in this living in this society where it's just like based upon these old models. So it would be beautiful if we could just change everything and like go back to the apprenticeship. Like my kids would love to just come and work with you for a week. They would probably learn way more in a week with you opposed to like a whole year, you know, like learning like tech and video production and stuff like that. You know, it's just like, I feel like things are really drawn out. And part of the issue is that the true divine nature, especially like with our kids that have melanin, you know, they're going to be a little bit more active. They're going to be more in their spirit. You know, they may call them spirited kids or whatnot. They're going to be more athletic. They're going to have greater kinesthetic abilities. It's just who we are. And a lot of times that gets shunned, or because it's not aligning within their model, you know, to sit.
Was there, I see you did extensive research and education at different institutions, right? How shocking was it, or was it shocking to your system to come to this revelation, and how it goes against what you were taught?
It's been so hard. It's really been hard, especially as a parent. I've run the whole gamut. Like I've done the homeschooling. I've done, you know, a little bit of private school, public. My kids are in public school right now. And it's just, I believe we have, you know, just a journey. And if there comes a point where it just doesn't balance out or doesn't feel right, then we can make a change. But literally, I take it day by day, year by year. And more than anything, what I've come to realize is I need you to be able to think critically, period. So
that's like my main thing with my daughter. I'm not gonna lie to you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I constantly do stuff with her to challenge her mentally. So hopefully she gets it. But that's like my main concern. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I know, like I feel your passion, like, because I know you're an amazing dad and you love your daughter and you want the best for her, you know. And each child does have their own journey, you know. I have 3 children, and like some of them have done a little bit more schooling than others. And it's shaped them to be whoever they need to be, you know. But I think the foundation of being a critical thinker, so if they're going to, and I tell them, like, they're going to feed you a lot, guys, but you don't have to take everything as, you know, fact. And there's a chance that, like, your teacher could be wrong sometimes, you know. So, like, just kind of giving them that kind of tool to kind of, like, see above. And then also teaching them, too, that they are these eternal souls. So it's not just like, I'm a 6-year-old in kindergarten and I don't know anything. But, like, no, like, you have intuition and you've had experiences in the past that bring you wisdom, right? So allowing all that to guide you. Yesterday was kind of tough because I was riding with my son, and he said, you know, during snack they watch something or whatever. And I'm just like, it annoys me. Just like, why do you have to watch shows in school? Like, it's fine, but it was about the moon landing. And, you know, I'm a conspiracy theorist, so I'm just like, well, you know, like, that could not be a real thing, you know, like, and but he was adamant that, like, they landed on the moon. Like, he did not want to have this conversation about, you know, the possibility of it not happening, you know. And I just kind of had to let it go and realize, hey, he has his journey too, but, like, the goal was just be critical. Like, don't take everything that they say as truth, but it's so hard. Yeah.
So I know you have experience with homeschooling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the thing I'm trying to figure out, because I don't understand. I don't know people's home situation.
Yeah.
Is homeschooling realistic with working parents?
You need community. You need community. And I was fortunate enough to have community around me, but where there were some moms that were home. So we were able to kind of build a co-op. So, you know, you're going to go to TT's house this day, you're going to go to Baba's house this day. So it kind of worked out, but there are some homeschooling cooperative, like, groups now. So, like, you could, like, drop your child somewhere and there's a bunch of homeschoolers, you know, so they can have, like, that social experience and interaction, and, you know, they are going to be, like, with peers and stuff like that. But you definitely need community. Like, you just can't do it alone, because, yeah, if you got to go to work, you know, you don't want your kid just, like, watching YouTube all day, you know, while you're not there. So it's like, I mean, I love YouTube, but so yeah, is it realistic? It's definitely doable, but you definitely need community. And now homeschooling is definitely more popular. So, like, there's, like, I know in Philadelphia, there's, like, a number of homeschooling groups that you could connect with. And then, you know, the working parents, maybe they put in a little bit more time or effort on the weekends or something like that. But
And how does homeschooling curriculums look like?
so they have everything. Like, you could go, like, you know, the crunchy granola Waldorf education route. You can do, like, the Christian education. You can do, you know, like, the online type of, you know, virtual type of learning. So, like, whatever you want, like, it's there. There's even, like, African-centered curriculum. So, like, they're out there. And then there's this whole unschooling, you know, there's this unschooling, what would we call it? Just, like, movement, which is just like, I don't need to feed you anything. Like, let me just see where your natural inclination will take you. And then, so you're interested in plants? Like, oh, okay, well, let's make a lesson out of that. Let's just go deep and hard into plants. Or, like, you're interested in Pokemon. All right, like, you can learn how to read with Pokemon. You can learn how to do, like, you can learn about evolution, you know, like, all these things. Not that I believe in evolution as a theory, but, you know, like, Pokemons evolve. So that's kind of, like, more of the unschooling trend, where it's just like you let the child's interest drive the curriculum.
So I'm just listening to you. Wouldn't unschooling be like the natural form of schooling before you had this, like, mass schooling? Because the thing I'm trying to figure out, observing people, right? and this probably sound away when I say it, but the most brilliant people I know aren't formally educated people.
Yeah.
I just want to be truthful about it, right? Not just trying to throw shots at anyone, right? But the thing is that like life, life, and just being a student of life and being self-taught. And I think that the school thing now is just it gives children a disdain for learning, and more than anything, a disdain for reading, and that's what's hurting them long term because when they leave school, any learning that they receive, it's like a burial at a sense. It's like rest in peace to learning anything when they leave school, you know. Even though most of them never learn anything in school, but just being open to learning, that seems to be the issue, you know.
You're spot on. I mean, I've seen it, and it's like when you have to keep a reading log, like that's so annoying. Like I just want to read for fun. Like why do I have to like write down how fast, what book, like all these things? It's just like, can I just have like a natural desire and love for reading? And a lot of times kids naturally really aren't going to start reading till like 8 or 9. But we're like pushing it on them, like 3 or 4 years old, like my baby can read, like let's read, and it's fine. Like some children will be naturally inclined and very verbal and able to do that. But for the most part, like really from like birth to like 7 or 8, they should just be playing, and then if you're reading to them, they're going to have a love for books. You don't have to like force it down their throat, have them keep a reading log and spelling tests and all this stuff. But it's just, they got to get those tests, right? It's so much about testing. Like, how are we performing as a nation, as a city, as a country? All right, well, that's what it's about.
This is what bugs me out with the test thing, right? All the numbers are fudged anyway, and the kids can't perform. That's the whole thing. Like, it's just such a corrupt system because anyone in education knows this for the most part. I'm not saying every system, but a lot of these teachers are fudging the numbers to keep their job or get a promotion. So it's not even an accurate assessment of what the child's doing, and you're stressing out the child, and the child's not learning properly.
Yeah, it's really sad. Like I've seen my 6-year-old stress over these spelling tests that he's getting every week, and then like, his handwriting, just like if it's not excellent versus good, like she's judging his handwriting. It's just like, this is his expression, and he's 6. Like, he's 6 years old. Like, it doesn't need to look like a computer, printed out Times New Roman. It's just like, what's really important at this age. It's not the fact that you can, like, spell all these words. Like, that will come, and, like, the brain, it's ready for these types of things at different times, and our school system isn't aligned with that. Even sometimes, like, the course of the day, when lunch is provided, when they're eating, it's just all for the convenience of like the system and the adults, not like the natural rhythms of the child. I mean, I have kids literally leaving my house when it's still dark. A high schooler, we know high schoolers need to sleep. Like they really probably shouldn't start school until like 10. But we got them out there 7 a.m., and it's just like their brains are just like exhausted.
And what's cool too with the eating situation is that so they get there, they get lunch. I mean breakfast, right? Mm-hmm. Which is whatever. But then lunch is like at 10:30, and school don't end till 3:30.
Yeah.
In fact, that can't work, yeah.
No.
Yeah, that can't work.
And then we won't even talk about what they're feeding them. It's just like.
Well, the school I was at, it was prison food basically, because the same company that provides the food for the prison provides the food for the high school.
Oh my gosh.
I think that's probably in most. It's the same way. Not Sodexo. What's the one? It's another company, but it's the same company though, right? They leave the school and go up there.
Yeah, they're modeled. I mean, after the prison system. Like I don't know if you've seen those like memes or whatever, but it's like the bus, the structure of the building, how they have to walk in lines. Yeah, it's like I'm feeling really terrible about sending them to school today. Thanks. But honestly, I'm still like, everyone is having their path. And my older two, they wanted this. They wanted to like go and have like the school experience. My younger one, he's kind of like, you know what? I think I kind of want to homeschool again. And so it's just, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But it's tough. It's really tough.
I want to talk about what's the term they use? They say pedagogy.
Yeah.
Is that it? That's the
Yeah.
word they like throwing around.
Yeah.
Right. In your experience, right? What is the disconnect between the people who create these theories and the actual implementation of these theories? Because I believe that the people who are analyzing schools and education don't teach, or they haven't taught for a while. And I think that's just in across the board, but it's like it creates an issue because whatever theory they came up with in their brain is not applicable and they don't understand it.
Yeah, there's a disconnect there. I mean, a lot of the theories that I've enjoyed, you don't even see practiced. And then the ones that make sense for the system, you see practice. So like I love this one theory, Howard Gardner, and he talks about the multiple intelligences. So it's like the kinesthetic learner, like I'm body smart, the verbal learner, like I can chat, and talk to you. The interpersonal, like I can go within and I know myself. And it's just like the system is based upon like if you're mathematical or verbal. Like if you're moving, you can't even run. You can't like. That's what my son says. He's like, I want to run in the hallway. I'm like, I know, I wish you could, So it's just like, it's like the theories that make sense, they kind of maybe put under the rug because it doesn't make sense in the big scheme of things when it comes to the system, So, and there's always a new theory coming out and a new program or a new curriculum. And then it's just like teachers.
Every year.
It's like, how do you get to see the progress, or if it's not working and you're still doing it.
I have a theory about that too, since you want to get into conspiracy theories. I believe the point, the teacher is just a warm body in there, right? So the teacher is pointless. The student is more important than the teacher because you get more money from the student than the teacher. And it's easier to replace a teacher than a student, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with the curriculum is I think they want to keep teachers in constant confusion. So they just basically surviving getting through the year. Because why would you give someone a curriculum to learn, right? And change it the next year and change it the next year? How effective can you be in teaching that curriculum if the point is to be an effective teacher?
Yeah, totally.
So I think they want to keep them overwhelmed and confused. So I guess they really can't. They want to put them in a constant position of survival. So they really can't analyze what's going on. They can give complaints, but they're not really concrete complaints about the system. They're just complaining about like being burnt out.
That's true. I mean, I've been a teacher. Like I've taught elementary school and in African-centered schools and in public schools. And it's just like you find that it's not uncommon for you to be introduced to a new way of doing things because it's like the latest research. And then like it could literally be like the next year and then that's debunked. And then now you're trying something new. So really it's just like these little guinea pigs, So it really is it's very much so about the teacher every year. Like you just be praying, like fingers crossed, like I hope I get like a conscious like person who realizes like my kids need to move around, or like maybe that will take my kids outside a little bit more, or is not like feeding them this propaganda that doesn't make any sense, or kindergartners and first graders learning about the civil rights movement. Like, is that really necessary? I don't think so. But it's just like that early, you trying to get them to know like you're less than. It's just like, so we as parents, we're the first teachers. We have to be so conscious, so deliberate, and really just like gear them up and equip them to be, like I said earlier, just like critical thinkers, and like to see like the teacher not as a god, but just like as another person, as another learning human being,
You spoke on it previously. I just want to touch on a little more. So the unschooling is basically letting the child or seeing and observing the child take a natural course to where it leads and supporting them in those areas.
Yes, exactly. And it's not like you have a curriculum and you're like feeding this curriculum, but you let the child guide the process. So if they're like interested in dogs, then you can find a way to do math, science, reading, all that within their like interest area. So it's really kind of for us as adults, like when they talk about unschooling, we're trying to kind of de-school in a way. So all the things that we've been taught, like, oh, you need to read at this age, and, you know, this is what math looks like for a first grader, and this is what you need to know, you know, like there's books like what your first grader needs to know, what your second grader needs to know. It's like getting rid of that and just being like, oh, what's your natural inclination? Like, what are you interested in? Okay, let's go deep and hard into that. And some families, some unschooling families may not even take that direction. They may just let their children be. And I've heard like there's the Philly Free School, and I've heard of places where it's just like they'll let the kids just kind of like guide their own learning experience. And sometimes you may find that there's like this wave where it's like, oh my gosh, my kid was like on the screen for like 10 hours straight, and like this like really doesn't feel okay. But then like after a while the kid gets tired of it, and then they get bored of it, and they're just like, okay, what else can I do? But it's like trying to get over that threshold, because we have this idea of what schooling looks like. You know, this is what schooling looks like. This is what, you know, you should be able to produce something. You should be able to, you know, read, write, arithmetic, like all these things. This is what science looks like, opposed to, you know, we spent the whole day outside and you got all the things, and also your nervous system is like super relaxed, you know, and you got some sunlight. Like there's classrooms with no windows, you know, and it's just like, oh my gosh, those poor babies, you know.